Right, Greeny, great 5 days in Durban, Test victory. How did you think the boys performed?
Well done. It was an outstanding victory. I have to say, I think in summing up, that South Africa were woeful in the last 2 or 3 days, and I'm not quite sure I can pinpoint why they were so poor. I'd have to say that England fought back brilliantly in a fine 100 by Cook, obviously working out his technique in the middle, but played exceedingly well, put us in a position for Belly to come in and lord it a little bit on a flat one. But for them to lose 6 wickets in that session was nobody could predict that. It was an extraordinary hour of cricket. I have to say, Broad bowled straight, pitched it up for a change, and I just wish he'd pitched it up a bit more, which someone would tell him, otherwise I'm going to have to tell him in Cape Town. And Swanee just did what Swanee does and has done for the last year or so. Just keeps getting key wickets and keeps bowling people out, and looks dangerous every time he bowls. But I think, summing up, it was an all-round good team effort, although I would say that South Africa looked very poor and looked a little bit short of match practice, to be honest with you.
Interesting on that second day in the evening when England came out to bat after the South Africans had struggled really in that first innings, and they seemed to get the pie throwers out. Straussy sort of took advantage of that, and
well, I think it's part of England's new approach, isn't it? It's a very positive approach. Straussy seems to have found a few more shots in his locker. Cook does what he does, which is what a Test opener does, just digs his trench and bats long time, which allows the other players to play around him. But I agree. I think going to dinner for 100 for 1 or whatever it was an excellent start. And Straussy really's got to be up there now as one of the top players in the world at the moment. He seems to have a lot more shots in his locker, and certainly dispatched the South Africans to all parts and really got us on the front foot.
Interesting that South Africans reverted to Domini as their strike spin bowler. What are your opinions of Harris?
Well, I think it's been catalogued before. Harris is no more than a third team bowler. I mean, he can't field, he can't bat, and he can't bowl. The only thing he can do is a little jig after he bowls, which is the only point of his in the side, I imagine. All I can say, he just must have something on the selectors or Graham Smith, because he is woeful and by far the worst Test cricketer I've ever seen.
Going back to Belly, great knock by Belly, but then he took that stupendous catch to dismiss Prince, first wicket down, and the ball started rolling from then onwards.
Well, I mean, Bell did have an impact in the game, obviously preening himself for most of it, and again scored a fine 100, and Bell's a fine player to watch, and he was very positive, but one would have to say, whether he played or not, we still would have won, because I think potentially the 4th or the 5th bowler would have made more of a difference than Bell getting 100. Yes, he enabled us to give him a good lead, but we were already on our way anyway. And with Broad and Swan now able to put together some scores at the bottom of the order, really another batsman is not necessary, because when you've got Broad and Swan, they can chip in with 30s, 40s, 50s. So really the batting order of England is very long. So I'd still, as well as Bell played, I still don't think he made a difference to the game and the outcome of the game at all.
Just to focus on man of the match, Graham Swan, he contributed quick runs on Wednesday morning, and then was pivotal in the victory in terms of the taking 5 for in that second innings, and he's turned into a great cricketer.
Well, I think Don, I think that he seems to be the person that makes things happen. He plays cricket with a smile on his face, but he just looks dangerous. They're not sure which one's going to turn and which one isn't, and he does turn it appreciably. Bowls a very good line from open around the wicket, and he's a real threat, which is, when you consider the last 2 Test matches, he's got 9 wickets in the first 2 innings. That's an outstanding effort. But again, I would have to say that sooner or later he's not going to get 4 or 5 wickets in the first innings, and we're going to struggle because of the lack of bowlers. But I have to say that he's been extraordinary. He's done exceedingly well, and it's good to see him performing on the big stage.
And today, victory, your maiden tour overseas, seeing your first Test victory. A lot of people have toured, not seen one tour victory. My first in 4 Test matches. it must have been enjoyable to see that today.
Don, it's come very easy to me, as a lot of things do. It's come very easy to me, and I was never in doubt really. And I even won the sweepstake for the time we were going to win this morning. Again, that's just experience, Don. I think knowing the game, knowing what's likely to happen. I mean, admittedly, I was 2 minutes out, which is disappointing. But I still managed to wrap it up quite convincingly this morning. It was just a question of time. South Africa were well beaten, and they know it. So on to Cape Town.
And finally, a good morning with the Barmy Army today.
Yeah, I enjoyed the Barmy Army this morning. It was fairly quiet to start with, but it was certainly good fun around the balcony with the England team, and obviously the England team do appreciate the travelling support. I just like to mix a little bit with the proles now and again, just to see how the other half live. But obviously we'll be back to hospitality in Cape Town. Too
right. And thanks for your views of the game, Greenie, and we'll be catching up again in Cape Town, I'm sure, in a few days' time.
Look forward to that, Don.
Thanks, Greenie.